What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Kevin Coleman at the Boys on. We are back with another edition of our freshman focus series, and then today we're going to be talking about quarterback Connor Weigman from Texas A&M. Now, Connor is a player that I've been pretty high on coming into the season, and if you're our Patreon member, you know how high I had him ranked in this quarterback class. And he was my QB too, and I think I got a little bit of a heat for that coming into the season, just based on who's out there. Club Nick, and we're talking about Drew Aller and these other guys. But what I just saw on tape from him is something that I really, really liked. And he just hadn't gotten on the field yet, but there was flashes that I'm like, damn, he is legitimate prospect. He got the start against Ole Miss this last weekend, and he looked pretty good. So let's talk about his numbers, what he's done this year. Obviously, he hasn't played. He's played 2 games. He played in the South Carolina game a little bit. He came in. He was 8 for 15 for 91 yards. Didn't do too much. But then last game against Ole Miss, they lost 31-28. But he had 28 completions for 44 attempts, 338 yards, and 4 touchdowns in that game. And he gave the Texas A&M offense a little life. And we haven't seen a little life. Now, this is from Cover 3 podcast. They talked about it. Bud Elliott talks about it. They have offense has not scored 30 or more points against I think it was a Power 5 opponent since last year. They had 28 in this game, so it was close. But they have not been able to kind of get over that hump offensively. And I think that's one thing we're going to be talking about in terms of like what is his strengths and weaknesses in there. But the question is, can Connor kind of turn this program around? The Aggies offense and the Aggies program has fallen off really bad this season. And what we've seen is a lack of institutional controls. That's what they call it. And you know what? Losing to South Carolina 2 weeks ago, 30-24, and in South Carolina losing to Missouri, like these things, Graham, and then with the wins this year, against not very good opponents, barely beating Arkansas, barely beating Miami, and then, basically an FCS opponent. When you're looking at those wins, not great. Losses, they've lost 4 in a row now. Mississippi State, Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss. They have Florida, Auburn, UMass, and LSU coming up. But Connor's got to be that guy now. This offense needs to step up. They got to stop the bleeding. They got to stop there's already rumors about transfer portal guys and all this stuff coming out of that program. If they want to salvage this season, they need Connor. He does well. So one thing that we talked about, functional athleticism, he's got it. I mean, he's got that fun 2,000 yards rushing in high school type of athleticism that you like to see. I think he can get outside the pocket pretty well. He scrambles up. He steps up in the pocket. There's little things at him because he's a freshman, and we're talking about a freshman quarterback he's got to work on. But overall, like, I was very happy when you just watched the film and what he was able to do with his athleticism. I love his release. I think that's the one thing. Now, we're going to talk about his mechanics here in a minute, but his release is very, very good. Like, he can get different angles. I think he can scramble, then he gets it out, and he gets it out quick. And so I think he has one of the best releases of that freshman class. One thing that I highlighted on my preseason series about Connor was just that his ability to do that. And I think he has the arm strength. Like, he has that vertical arm strength to stretch the field. We saw it a little bit against Ole Miss. He's not afraid to push the ball downfield. That's something that has missed and lacked in this Texas A&M offense. As much as everybody loves Kellen Mond and these other guys that have been there, they have struggled under Jimbo. Now we're seeing some guys, okay, maybe we can see, Connor being that is able to take it to another level. And I think his arm strength can do that. He's really good off platform. I think he can improvise really well because of that arm strength and release, and he gets away with it. Now, there are times where he makes some throws where you're like, I wish you would take that back a little bit, Connor. But there are areas where he's kind of a gamer, and I know my analytics guys aren't going to like that, but I think he has that quick release. He gets it outside. He can throw it. He can get it to the numbers on the outside. Like, those are the things you love about him, about just a pure ceiling play athleticism. I think that is one thing with Connor. Now, we talk about his weaknesses and just things that we need to work on. I think mechanics is one, and you saw it against Ole Miss. There's time when he gets rushed, his feet don't get set, he doesn't get it across his body. There's things as a quarterback that you'd like to see him do a little bit better. He's young, though. I mean, we're talking about a true freshman here. We're not mentioning like, hey, he can't fix this. He can definitely fix this. I do think that sometimes he gambles, though, so that decision-making comes into play. So, there's times where he just thinks he uses his talent and his arm strength, and he thinks he can get it to places, which we don't hate that. Like, we don't hate with this channel, guys that are willing to go out there and go throw it. But there are times when you should throw it. There were some tosses in this Ole Miss game that makes you realize why they hasn't been out there since Haynes King has struggled, and like why hasn't he been out there? I think there's some things that you see that he's really got to learn how to do. Like, hey, he's got to understand too when to throw it the way he does, the velocity and all that, and when there's going to be a little bit of touch that he's got to give it out there. So these are just game throws that he gets. Remember, in high school when we're talking about where he played, I mean, he played Texas 6A competition. So we are talking about legitimate competition, but it's just a different level when you go on the nuances to the SEC. There's nuances to those defenses, when to get it in, when to throw it, when to do those type of things. Like there are nuances he's going to learn. Now, my other question mark is the offensive system. Can Jimbo's system highlight him? And I think that is going to be the question mark. And they talk about his offense being complicated. They did a whole full breakdown on the broadcast talking about it's not that much complicated anymore. Jimbo's kind of living in the past a little bit based on offenses that we've seen. So can he kind of overcome an offensive system that doesn't necessarily have the best track record in college football the last 2 or 3 years? And I think that there's weapons. They're going to be weapons, okay? And is Evan Stewart going to be there? I think that's the biggest thing. Now, let's take a look, and we'll just watch a little bit of film on him, what he does well. Again, RPO, release, like I think he did very well when he played within the system. And you're going to see this throw this another time, but I thought he played pretty well within the system. And again, this is his highlight. Now, he has Devin Chain there, and he has these guys that can do this, but he reads it pretty well. Gets it out, and this is where that quickness of that release, you just saw that release on camera. That's a good release here. Again, decision making here. I think the biggest thing for Texas A&M and for Connor is Evan Stewart going to stay? Rumblings that maybe he won't. I think he probably will based on what he's seen his production. He's seen his targets go up. He's seen his playing time go up. He's probably going to stay, but that's going to be the biggest thing. If he stays, then they're going to have a legitimate offense. You see it right here. That's an amazing ass catch. But what I will say too is like when watching this tape and going over it, the catch was amazing. We've already done a highlight of Evan Stewart. Go watch it. But look at where this ball placement's at. That's exactly where Evan Stewart needs to go get it. So to me, that's two folds. You have a superstar wide receiver, and then you have a quarterback that knows where he wants to go get it. Now, here's another one. He goes and just throws it up, and I think that is going to be a offense. Now, it was a good throw. Like, it was just a drop, and I think the defender kind of made a play a little bit there, but that's not a bad throw there. Again, reads, checks downs. I thought he did a pretty good job of this game. Early on, his reads were better than it was late because he was kind of pressing the issue a little bit. But he read the ball really well, isn't afraid to get it out. Again, it gets you a little nervous when some of these throws here. I think they're on the money. I know he trusts his arm. He was definitely targeting Stewart early and often, which you should do because he's one of your best players. But he let the game kind of come to him at times. And he acceptable passes that they could have happened, but they didn't, right? He had 0 interception, he had 4 touchdowns. This is another one, too. You love to see this from young guys, that last play where he just goes up and lets Evan Stewart go get it. There was that. There's open field here. Like, they didn't lose this game because of their offense. You know, there was times where they should have scored here and value there, but I thought he played very, very well for his first game out there against a very tough Ole Miss team. Now, let's talk about outlook. So if we're going to break down his schedule, like I said, he's got Florida. He's got a bye week he has Florida this week. Then he's got Auburn. Then he's got they're 3-5 right now. If Connor can lead them, Florida game is going to be big. I think they could win that game, and then they should beat Auburn and UMass. If they win the next 3 games, they're 6-5, and then they got that LSU game. They could realistically go 7-5 this year. Now, will they? I don't know. 6-6 probably seems more likely. Florida probably could get them. They should beat Auburn, UMass, though, and then they got LSU sitting right there. Like, that could be a bowl-eligible game, right? Like, hey, can they get that? I can't believe we're talking about Texas A&M just being bowl-eligible, but this is where we're at. Now, if Connor can lead them there and Evan Stewart, then we're going to propel them to next year of like, okay, where's that value at? Hey, about legitimate contenders based on the value, the talent they have there. But Connor's been very good this year, and I think with got to keep notice of that 25 class of who's going to be in there. Right now, we know Drew Alder's out there, Kate Klubnik. Connor's right there, too. There's Ty Simpson. We got Walker Howard that hasn't played. Then we have, other guys in that class that definitely could take that next step. But Connor's right there. He's the top quarterback in this class for a reason. So now we get to see what he can do, and it's been a very good showing. So we appreciate you guys tuning in the channel, as always. Thank you. Hit that like, subscribe button. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know in the comment. What other freshmen do you want to see out here so that we can take a look at them already? So please hit that like, subscribe button. We'll see you guys next time.